How does the design of a roof increase the likelihood of a leak? Your roof doesn't leak because it's old. It leaks because of this. Most homeowners think leaks happen because their roof is aged, they have outworn shingles, weathered materials, or that time is taking its toll. But after 2 decades of roofing in New Jersey, I can tell you that there is often more to a leak problem. And if you don't understand these design vulnerabilities, you'll keep paying for repairs that never fix the root cause. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why certain roofs leak repeatedly after multiple repair attempts, and what to look for during your next roof inspection that 90% of homeowners and even some contractors completely miss. Here's what you need to know. The design of a roof plays a major role in how well it sheds water. Certain architectural features naturally increase the risk of leaks because they create areas where water can slow down, collect, or be forced to change direction. And the more complex your roof design, the more potential failure points you're dealing with. Let me walk you through the 5 most common design vulnerabilities I see on New Jersey homes and why they matter for your long-term roof protection. Number 1, roof valleys. Valleys are where 2 roof planes meet and channel large volumes of water into a narrow path. Because so much water flows through these areas, any small installation error or material failure can quickly lead to a leak. A tiny gap in the valley flashing, improper overlap of shingles, or debris buildup gets magnified because of the sheer volume of water moving through that space. This is important because valleys don't give you a lot of warning before they fail. The water volume is so high that when a problem develops, it escalates quickly. You go from everything is fine to water's pouring into my attic in a single storm. If your roof has multiple valleys, especially long ones, pay close attention during inspections. Look for debris buildup, shingle wear along the valley edges, and any signs of water staining on the underside of the roof deck. These are your early warning signs that the valley is under stress. And if you're building a new home or planning an addition, ask your architect to minimize the number of valleys in the design. Every valley you eliminate is one less high-risk area you have to maintain for the next 20 years. Number 2, low slope sections. Asphalt shingles are designed for roofs with enough pitch to shed water quickly, typically a minimum of 3/12 slope. That's 3 inches of rise for every 12 inches of horizontal run. When the slope is too shallow, water drains more slowly and has more time to work its way under shingles, especially during wind-driven rain or ice buildup. Think of it like a parking lot versus a steep driveway after a rainstorm. On the driveway, water runs off immediately. In the parking lot, puddles form and water sits. Your roof works the same way, and when water sits, it finds gaps. Low-slope areas are particularly vulnerable during nor'easters here in New Jersey, where we get sustained wind-driven rain for hours. The wind can actually push water sideways and upward under shingles that would normally protect just fine in a vertical downpour. Here's why this matters beyond just water getting in. When water sits on a low-slope section, it doesn't just leak, it slowly degrades the underlayment, soaks into the wood deck, and creates conditions for mold and rot. You won't see the damage until it's extensive because it's happening underneath the surface where you can't inspect it. If you have garage roofs, porch overhangs, or additions with shallow slopes, these need extra attention. Ice and water shield underlayment, proper starter shingles, and regular inspection of these areas can prevent these slow leaks that cause hidden damage over the years. Number 3, complex roof designs. Roofs with multiple dormers, intersecting roof lines, and numerous penetrations such as chimneys, skylights, and vent pipes require more flashing. Flashing is the metal material that seals joints and transitions. Every additional flashing point is another place where a leak could potentially develop if it fails over time. But here's the part most homeowners don't realize. It's not just that you have more flashing, it's that each piece of flashing has to work perfectly with the components around it. A chimney requires step flashing, counter flashing, and oftentimes a cricket, which is a small diverter roof that directs water around the chimney. If any one of those components fails, the whole system can leak. Let me explain why this matters long term. Flashing components don't all age at the same rate. Your chimney flashing might be fine, but the skylight flashing starts failing after 15 years. You fix that, then the step flashing in a dormer develops a problem. You're not dealing with one roof, you're dealing with a dozen interconnected systems, each with its own maintenance timeline. This creates what I call maintenance fatigue. Homeowners get frustrated because they feel like they're constantly fixing something. And they're right, because complex designs demand complex maintenance. And when you do need work done, it is important to hire a contractor who understands that every flashing detail matters. Cutting corners on a simple gable roof might not cause immediate problems, Cutting corners on a complex Victorian with 6 dormers and 3 chimneys? You should expect guaranteed leaks within 5 years. Number 4, dead valleys. A dead valley is an area where water has no clear path to drain. This happens when 2 roof planes meet at an angle that creates a low spot, but there's no valley line or downward slope to move water away. The water gets trapped at the bottom of the valley and can potentially run into an adjacent wall that wasn't designed to handle that large volume of water. When water becomes trapped or moves too slowly, debris can build up, and moisture can remain on the roof longer than intended, increasing the likelihood of leaks. Leaves, pine needles, and organic material collect in these spots, creating dams that hold water against the shingles for hours or even days. Here's a real example that shows you why this is such a difficult problem. I worked on a home where the homeowner had the same corner of their ceiling repaired 3 times in 8 years. Different contractors, different materials, same leak. The problem? A dead valley between the main roof and a dormer. We had to install a custom flashing system and add a slight slope modification to finally solve the roof leak, because this was actually a design flaw that was not repairable using traditional roofing methods. The compounding effect here is that dead valleys also accelerate the aging of your roofing materials. Shingles that sit in standing water deteriorate faster. Underlayment breaks down. Even the wood deck starts to rot because it is constantly damp. So you're not just dealing with leaks, you're dealing with structural degradation that spreads outward from that one problem area. If you have repeat leaks in the same spot, despite multiple repairs, ask your contractor to evaluate the drainage path. You might not be dealing with bad workmanship. You might be dealing with a dead valley that needs a structural solution, not just a surface fix. And if you're in the design phase of a new home or addition, show your plans to an experienced roofer before construction starts. An architect might create a beautiful roof line on paper that looks great, but he may miss the dead valley. This happens way more often than you might think. A roofer who's dealt with these problems can spot them in the design phase and suggest modifications that save you decades of headaches. Number 5, roof-to-wall transitions. A roof-to-wall transition is exactly what it sounds like, where a sloped roof meets a vertical wall, like the side of a dormer, a second-story wall, or a chimney. This transition depends heavily on properly installed step flashing and counter flashing. If these components aren't designed or installed correctly, water can easily work its way behind the siding and into the home. And because the leak point is several feet away from where the water actually drips inside, it can be incredibly hard to diagnose without understanding how water travels. Let me walk you through the common failure modes that I see. First, step flashing is installed improperly alongside. Water runs behind the flashing immediately. This is a rookie installation mistake, but I see it on homes often. Second, missing or improperly sealed counter flashing. The step flashing might be perfect, but if there's no counter flashing protecting the top edge, wind-driven rain gets behind it, and you've got a leak. Third, no kick-out flashing at the bottom of the transition where water exits onto the main roof. Water runs down the wall, hits the end of the step flashing, and instead of being kicked out onto the shingles, it runs straight into the gap between the wall and the roof deck. Fourth, step flashing that's too short to handle heavy rain volume. This is a design issue standard. 4-inch step flashing works fine on most homes, but if you've got a tall wall or a roof that channels a lot of water to that transition point, you need taller flashing to handle the flow. Here's why this matters beyond just fixing leaks. Roof-to-wall transition failures cause hidden damage. The water gets behind your siding, soaks into the wall sheathing, and creates rot and mold inside the wall cavity. By the time you see water staining on the ceiling inside, you've got thousands of dollars in structural damage that has accumulated over months of years. During a roof inspection, specifically ask your contractor to show you the condition of step flashing at all roof-to-wall transitions. Look for rust, gaps, or places where the flashing is pulled away from the wall. These are early indicators that a leak is coming, even if you haven't seen water inside yet. Here's the thing. Understanding these design vulnerabilities is step 1. But if you're a homeowner in New Jersey dealing with an 18 to 25-year-old roof, you're probably wondering,
okay, so what do I actually do with this information?
That's where a professional roof assessment comes in. Not just someone walking around your roof and saying, looks fine, or you need a full roof replacement, but a detailed evaluation of your specific drainage paths, slope conditions, flashing integrity, and design vulnerabilities. At Fortified Roofing, we've been doing this for over 20 years. We don't just replace shingles, we evaluate the entire roofing system to identify whether you're dealing with a simple repair, a maintenance issue, or a fundamental design flaw that needs a different approach. If you're in New Jersey and you want that level of clarity, reach out. We'll walk your roof, explain exactly what we're seeing, and give you a straight answer about what your home actually needs. Let's recap what we've covered. First, roof valleys channel massive water volume into narrow paths. Any installation error here gets magnified. Second, low slope sections can't shed water fast enough, especially during wind-driven rain, giving water time to work under shingles. Third, complex roof designs with multiple penetrations and transitions create more flashing points and more potential failure points. Fourth, dead valleys trap water and debris because there's no clear drainage path and they're incredibly difficult to fix without structural changes. Fifth, roof-to-wall transitions depend entirely on properly installed step flashing and counter flashing. And when these fail, water gets behind your siding. Here's the key takeaway. In simple terms, the more complex the roof design and the more areas where water changes direction or slows down, the greater potential for leaks. Good roofing design focuses on simple drainage paths, proper slope, and well-protected transitions to keep water moving off the roof as quickly as possible. But here's what most homeowners don't realize. Even a well-designed roof can fail if it's not installed correctly, and that's the topic of my next video. Now that you understand how roof design creates leak vulnerabilities, you need to know how installation mistakes turn those vulnerabilities into actual failures. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you're in New Jersey and dealing with a roof that leaks repeatedly despite repairs, drop a comment or reach out. I'd love to help you figure out what's actually going on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.